Are you playing the big game or the excuse game? And I know a lot of people are playing really, really small to their um, capabilities. Hey, what's happening, Mandy? They're playing small to the level that they could play because they hit a complacency level. Like when I was growing my company, I ended up hitting 10 million. And then there's a point where you're really comfortable. You're making more money. You don't have the problems you had. But then you hit a level of complacency, and that's where a very dangerous spot is. Then normally when you hit 20, 20 million, then there's another level of complacency. And like if people are stuck at like 20 million, it's a them stuck thing, not a it's never a market thing. It's always a them stuck thing. So the question is like what game are you playing in your relationship? Like what game are you playing in your wealth? What game are you playing in your health? What game are you playing in life in general? I was thinking about that today when we were walking on the beach this morning. I was like, yeah, I could just walk on the beach when I want. And yes, I'm running two companies right now. We have a company that we do equity with companies to help them grow and exit in the next 3 to 5 years. Now, if you own a plumbing, HVAC, and electrical company, don't reach out to me. I'm not doing equity in that industry yet. Someday, maybe in the future, I'll enter that game and do equity there. But at this point, I don't do equity in that. But if you know anybody in a SaaS business or they own, chiropractic or jewelry or any other type of business, e-commerce, well, keep me in mind. And you could go to a site. We're doing special invitations. It's partnerwithmikea.com. So if you've never seen that, check it out. So what I'm talking about, and then we run the food dog business that we're running high level events. We have one coming up in September. It's a 3-day event on the beach called Level Up. It's pretty much be one of the greatest events I've ever run because I've been doing 3-day events for like a long time. Like probably we'll be heading into a decade now. So I really understand how to do transformation events to get people that are playing small to play a bigger level on the inside themselves. So when I was walking on the beach this morning, I was sitting there going, like, wow, okay, I'm able to walk on the beach when I want, and I'm running two companies right now. See, it took decades to get there to understand that. And if I was to summarize that, the summary is like I was playing a small game because my ability was small, right? My ability, I used to help people, but not be able to transform people. Once I learned how to transform people, then people in my world started to go from suffering to successful, right? They went from like bad relationship to better relationship, from trying to be a good parent to being an amazing parent. So we broke the paradigms of things. Hey, what's up, Ed? And by breaking those paradigms, people started to play a bigger game. Now, if you're not playing a bigger game and something's blocking you inside, I would just tell you a clock's ticking and you should really fix it now because we're heading into the greatest opportunity and the greatest purge. There's going to be people that are going to win and people that are going to really get hurt in 2023. I mean, the indicators are there, all the numbers are there. It's all there, right? The storyline is there. And I had an expert. We run two-level programs. We have one that's a Freedom Tribe, and we have a Mastery level program for people that are looking to break their boundaries in life at a whole new level, move faster than they could ever imagine. And one of the secret sauces to playing a bigger game is hang around people that are playing a bigger game, right? It could be good to hang around people that did play a big game. I always found that when you hang around people that at one time played a big game, but they're not now, there's a saturation level to their knowledge. But when you're hanging around people that played a big game and they're still playing a big game, like if you look at like Kevin O'Leary, right? Like he's playing a game and playing a bigger game. Jay Abraham, all these guys, they're playing a bigger game. And that's what I found out is definitely that's high value when you go around that. And so on our mastery level program, we had an expert come on today and he was talking about the end of a 40-year cycle and the beginning of a new 40-year cycle. Now, if you don't know what's happening in the next 40-year cycle, well, you're at risk. Your company's at risk. Your life is at risk. Everything's at risk if you don't understand cycles. And most people do not understand cycles. So we're ending a 4-decade cycle, and now we're going to go into a new 4-decade cycle. So you're going to have the purge, right? Where people that don't know how to play a bigger game, they're not stepping up themselves, they don't know how to optimize their thinking, they don't know how to optimize their life. Well, this is pretty risky going into 2023. It's very risky. I called it back in 2008. Also, I said, look, this is gonna be a purge. I mean, anybody who was in my world working for me at that time, they knew, like, we were training for combat. Like right now, people are training for complacency and training for complaining. You should be training for combat right now. And we were also talking today about relationship capital and the power of having somebody in your world over time. Like the guests that I have on, and in our program in like 4 weeks, just so you want to know what caliber of a program I run to help people think at a higher level, be a higher level, do a higher level, is we have one of the original Sharks of Shark Tank coming to hang out with my group, Kevin Harrington. He's going to come hang out, and we're going to talk to him about strategies about life and thinking bigger and playing a bigger game, and how to be, how do you optimize yourself and how do you deal with personal struggles. Pretty big deal to have, someone like Kevin Harrington come in and hang out in a group. But that doesn't just happen. That happens because of relationship capital, right? Like I've paid people to be my coach for years and years and years, and didn't need them for years, but then I needed them one time. And that one time was worth 1,000 times. It was worth 1,000 times, that one time. Like the call we had today with the guest that came on for the mastery group, like he said some things that could save you from wasting a decade of your life, like literally wasting a decade of your life. And he also gave insight on how just optimizing yourself could bring unlimited wealth in thinking. Because there's a lot of head games that happen. Look at the head games that are happening with people that are like, people that sell a company but don't leave it, they stay on for more, they're the same person. They're afraid to disconnect. Some people say, no, Mike, that's wrong. Like people stay on because they want to make more money. I said, yeah, okay, it's lack of growth. Because there is a point where, legacy takes over what you're worried about making financially. When legacy takes over and you go like, before I die, I want to make sure I stood for it. No one, like, trust me, like, if I did nothing else, which they thought, everybody said, Mike's not going to do anything after he sold Gold Medal Service. Like, I have so much money. Like, he won't give a shit about the industry. Okay, he won't care about people. He made a fortune of money. No, I cared more about the people, actually, right? Because what people didn't realize is if I died and been like, oh, he died, he built a really big plumbing and electrical HVAC company. Like, who cares? Like, big deal. Like, okay, fed like 200 employees' mouths. All right, great. Like, that didn't change the world. It didn't change things. It's not something that would carry on longer and benefit. And if you're not feeling that already and you're over the age of 40, you probably got to do some inner reflective work, because it is a natural progression to start playing bigger but playing different, right? Like you got to play bigger in the one game until you transition into the game of creating impact for people, right? And creating that level of legacy. That level of legacy. But some people aren't ready for it because they have such a story of what they think what they can be and what they can become. And they have such a story of their own self-worth. If only I knew what I knew 10 years ago, like just 10 years ago, and I was already doing incredible things 10 years ago, but if only I knew what I know now, like that's why you work with really, really smart people, because you're looking to save decades in time. Last night on our Freedom Tribe time that we spent, we were like 2.5 hours almost, I think, on our Freedom Tribe session. And we talked about planting seeds. And like, you're either planting a weed is grown from a seed too. You get that, right? Like weeds are grown from seeds, and also flowers, and also trees. So the question is for you to think about, the game you're playing is, what kind of seeds are you planting to play that game? So many people, they don't want to take a chance. They're not, people are not brave. I'm just telling you, like, a lot of people are just not brave. They're not brave. They're not willing to take a chance. And if you're not willing to take a chance, you're never going to play the big game. You're never going to play the game that's going to get you. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you'll prove me wrong and be like, yeah, I never took a chance and I did big things. Like, I don't know. Answer me in the chat bar. Anybody that watches the replay or now, do you know anybody who like never took a chance and did really big things? I'm so curious about this. I'm going to have to like research. I'm going to Google it, like people who never took a chance and created things. Now, I'm not talking about hand down things like, it was handed down, like maybe the people in Walmart, like, Walmart was built, but then it was handed to family. I'm not talking about those things. I'm really curious about that. Like, people are not brave, but if they could just get a little braver, there's such a world of opportunity. I know smart people that are just playing such a little game because they're not brave enough to make the next move. And I'm not telling you to be like me, because like I make moves and sometimes I'm like, I don't know, was that the best thing? I'm like, it was the bravest thing. Was it the best thing? I don't know. Like, I've made a lot of moves that most people would not make. Like, even with my, I'll tell you a big move. It may not seem like a big move for you, but it was a move. Like, I have my electrical license and I have my inspector's license. And here's a story for you. I got my electrical license when I think I was 21 or 22. So, and I'm level 52. So it's 30 years ago. That was a huge accomplishment. I mean, getting your electrical license, your master license, is a big deal, right? And then as soon as I got that, I started taking classes, okay? I started taking classes to get my inspector's license. So I trained, it was 45 hours, I think, of training at night school in Middlesex County College in New Jersey. I was working all day, going to college at night, went and took the inspector's test, passed it, and then they said, you need 7 more years of experience. And I was like, what do you mean? I passed the test. He's like, no, it doesn't matter. You passed the test, you don't have the experience. So needless to say, on a phone call, I cursed this guy out, and I was like, just remember my name. Just remember my name, because I'm going to come back, and when the time's there, I'm just going to take, which I did. 7 years later, I went and I took the ICS, I think it's RCS and HHS license for inspectors. So a couple of years ago, I was turning around and I'm like, I'm still taking my 34 hours every 3 years of electrical class. And I would have fun there. I'd go hang out with Rob and my brother. But like, I'm not going to go do electrical work, right? I'm going to hire people to do it. If I do stuff, I'm not going to lend my license out or anything. It's not something I'm interested in because I feel like there's risk in that. So I shelved it, which was not a big deal, because when you shelve it, I could always go back and get it, update the class, and I still have my license. So that's not really too brave of a move, right? Hey, what's up, Sean? That's not a really big move. But my inspector's license, which took me a big window to get, when I called them, they said, no, you can't shelve it. You stop taking the classes. We'll take it away. You don't get it back. And so I was thinking, like, okay, well, what is the safe move to be? Like, what is the comfortable move? Is keep taking the classes, keep doing it, don't lose it, because that's like really comfortable because you worked hard for it one time. Like, don't let go. But the big game is, in order to grow something, you have to let go of something, right? So I'm sitting here going, well, hang on a minute. What would be the big game? The big game would be you you have to consider letting this go, Mike. So I spent a couple nights, and I'm wondering if you were in my shoes, what would you do? Would you be easily to let go of your? It's a electrical inspector's license. It's two major licenses you have to take for the HHS and the other one, and it takes a long time. You got to have a lot of experience, and I only got the license to fist fight with inspectors. Like that's the only reason I got the license because Rob and I were getting when you're young and you start a company back then, you get bullied by the inspectors. They pressure you. They tell you, oh, you can't do this. They make up their own rules. And actually, I'm from the beginning days where you still they would want a little bit of money or a gift. That was the very beginning days. I was still in that kind of very beginning realm where you're like, hey, let me buy you this, right? And only for a little while, but they were very bully. And the way to not get bullied is to have power and education that levels the playing field. So I went and got my inspector's license so I could go fist fight with these guys. And then I started going to the inspector's classes. And the whole thing was for me and my brother and Rob to earn respect in the industry. It's almost like a mafia game almost, right? It's like this niche of inspectors, and the only way they back off is you have to earn respect. So I used to go to the meetings once a month and fist fight there with people. Not physical fist fight, but like, go at them and fight against the inspectors and their translation of the code. So I turned around and said, wait, to play, Jerry, I said, to play a bigger game, you got to be willing to let go. So I let go of my inspector's license. Because like, if there ever was a day that I changed my mind and I'm like, Jerry, it'll probably never happen. But let's say one day I wake up and I'm like, hey, I hope I become an electrical inspector someday and I could eat donuts and go check people's jobs, right? I'll just go take all the tests again. Like it doesn't matter because in the big game, whatever you want to accomplish, you're relentless until you get it done. And that's like the big lesson I want you to take tonight. Like whatever you want to accomplish, like you have to have in your mind that you can do it and get it done. You will do whatever it takes at any time it takes, right? That's why I'm here with you at 9:30 tonight when a lot of other people probably mentally shut down. And I'm still going to study tonight. And then we have my wife and I and my son are going to spend the whole weekend from like 8:30 in the morning till 7:30 at night. We're going to be studying this whole weekend together on a whole bunch of information. Why? Because if you want to go to the next level, right, you have to be willing to play that game to go to the next level. And if you're not, like, here's the scariest thought. Waking up a decade from now and being the same. What do you guys think about that? Tell me in the chat bar. Like, waking up a decade from now and being the same person. That sounds really scary to me. It sounds like you did not grow. Now, the second scary thought here is thinking back and going, wait a minute, how different am I now than a decade before, the last decade? And if you look back on the last decade and you're pretty much the same person doing the same stuff, you're not growing. So ask yourself the consequence of that not growing. So I want to make you guys an invitation tonight, just an invitation to yourself. Hey, what's happening, Greg? The invitation is, are you ready to play the big game? Are you ready to play a bigger game? Or do you just want to be like the person that sits on the bleachers and watches everyone else play a bigger game, right? You're like, oh, he's so good. Oh, that company's so big. Oh, that company sold for so much. Oh, that person's relationship's so good. Like, you just keep playing the safety game, right? Like, I'm not going to really go to the next level. It's either in your DNA or created into your DNA, right? Like, for some people, it's there because you want to just do it. Like, we were talking, I was talking to someone the other day, and they were like, I was talking to somebody, a manufacturing company, doing an equity deal with a manufacturing company. And I was like, well, what's going to happen when this thing sells in 3 to 5 years? Like, when we exit this thing and we create, huge multiples in it. Like, what's next? Are you going to like sit on the beach or sit in the mountain? Are you going to like just hang out? He's like, oh, I'm probably going to build something else. And I'm like, exactly the type of person you want to partner with. Someone who's always growing and ready to build the next type of thing, right? They're ready to go. They don't talk about fatigue. They talk about power. I was saying that to someone the other day. They said, hey, because I had COVID in Florida. I spoke to 1,200 people in Tennessee. We went to Florida, and then I got COVID, and then I sat like 10 days in Florida with COVID in a house. And then someone asked me the other day, like, hey, how you feeling? I'm like, yeah, stronger than ever. Like, my immune system did its job. I powered it up. My wife made tons of chicken soup and food for me. I had tons of nutrition. And like, yeah, I'm stronger than I was before it, right? I'm stronger than I was before it because my immune system is it's a super powerhouse right now, right? So tell me what your big takeaway is. Type in the chat bar, imagination and creation. Yeah. And execution, right? And execution. As a lot of people are not willing to spend the time they'll create, they'll imagine, they won't take action, right? They won't put in the work to take the action. They're so busy admiring everyone else. I've shared this before, but I'll share it again. Like, anytime you put someone else on a pedestal, don't ever put me on a pedestal. Put me right next to you. Okay? Because I know you know things I don't know, and I know things you don't know, right? But as you start seeing yourself as, you know what? I know information. I just need to know what I'm missing to go to the next level. And what are you willing to do to get that information? Like, what are you willing to do to move forward? Yeah. It's not a hunger game. It's a relentless game. Because you could sit here like, some days my wife and I are really hungry and we're trying to just think of like, well, what are we going to eat? We just sit there in a state of hunger. But then if we turn around and we're in the execution game, the relentless game, we're like, no, we're going to figure out, we're going to do this now. Now, sometimes it's hot dogs we're making, but like, we take action and we got to do it. All right, everybody. So tonight I invite you, and I want you to tell me in the chat bar, like, or private message me, like, how are you going to go to the next level? Or where are you stuck on not going to the next level? Like, where are you stuck not going to the next level? Because I want all of you to be ready for 2023, but also dominate the next decade in your life. All right. Love you guys. Have an amazing night. I'll see you. Look for a post. I'll post another one in a couple of days. I think I'll probably, since I'm doing training this weekend, you may not hear from me unless I get all wound up over the weekend. But you'll definitely hear from me again soon. All right. Boom.